what's up everyone? So this is my tutorial for how to make a chord stack. Melodic dubstep style, like Seven Lions, Jason Ross, those sort of guys. You saw a preview earlier, but this is my remix for Cloudy Parallels and LV's Villain in the Story, and it was released on Circus Records about earlier this week, I believe, at the time of uploading this, hopefully. So, quick disclaimer, I'm focusing only on the chord stack here. So, the glitch fills and the drums and that sort of things will not be covered in this tutorial. Secondly, if you cannot tell right here, I only have 8 project files open, and that's because I actually use Ableton Live Lite. A lot of people ask me why. I just prefer the workflow of this. Don't question it, please. I do use some higher end plugins like Fab Filter Bundle and all that, but most of them are really simple effects. So you can pretty much recreate all of this in stock Ableton plugins. Like the reason I use Fab Filter and all that is because Ableton Live Lite does not come with much. It doesn't even have a proper EQ. Like your best bet is a channel EQ, which no one is using that. So anyway, let's go into the tutorial. So first of all, when it comes to chord stacks, everyone focuses a lot on thinking about you have to layer like 10 chord layers at once. Realistically, you only need 2 to 3. I used 5 in this song, and even I think that's overkill. But let's start. Here's how they all sound together. It's a lot thinner than you might imagine. A lot of people think they have to have this like super wide sound. If I get rid of my effects, here's what it sounds like. So here a little bit more low end there. It's not much processing. So first of all, we have this sound. It's more like a squarey saw. So I'm gonna show the CRM presets for all of these except for this one. This is like my signature sound I use in every single song. So for just my own reason, I'm not doing that. But I will show you guys the MIDI real quick. I stack a bunch of notes. It's literally just a triad. F, C sharp, A, and then F sharp as well. And then it's the same thing repeated, and then the bass note. And the same thing, D, C, G sharp, D, C, G sharp, and then G sharp again for bass note. That's like how I get my chords sound a little bit stronger than just like a simple triad. Next we have an AU5 chord. So as you mentioned, that one has a lot more like grit and power behind it. I wish I could tell you how this thing works. It looks pretty simple until you go to the effects tab and the matrix tab. It's crazy complicated. If you type in on Google, I'll put a link in the description as well, AU5 Super Saw Killer. This is the tutorial, and this is what you'll get. This is really important for later because I use this sound twice in the song, and it really helps with the just adding some like craziness to the chord stack to make it a bit fuller. I'm gonna turn the volume up a little bit, so heads up there. Yes, I have it low because this is pre-master. Next we have a preset I used. So again, something a bit more, harmonic, I guess. I'm not a musician like technical guy, so. So this is LFO, I believe, on the filter. So it's a basic shapes with wavetable position change on both of them, some detune, some voices, this filter with these settings, and I believe effects. We have some phasers and all that. So you can just copy these. I don't believe. Wait, okay, yeah, there's not much here. Otherwise, you could just copy head these settings. Again, this is a preset, so I don't really know much about it. This one I did make my own. It's called Filler Saw. So it's a super cool sound. It's like it waves a little bit, right? So it's literally just 2 super saws, like basic patch, but 16 voices on each, and like a detune about like 0.9 and 0.5. Then for LFO, I believe I map it to the phaser. Yeah, so it's the only thing, just a phaser with like a maximum mix, and it just like goes back and forth between them. Super cool, really helps fill the space. And last one's another preset. Again, I don't have much to say for these presets because they're not really something I made, right? But you get the idea. Basically, you want some variety in there, right? You want some typical like super saws, some bit more squarey, something a bit more gritty, and then some melodic ones, and then something to kind of fill the space. Let's talk about mixing now. Now, if I turn on the filters, kind of adds quite a bit. So what I do is for EQ, I literally just cut everything below 250 hertz or 240 in this case. I just cut everything there. Super simple. And then I had OTT, a free plugin. I don't like overdoing it, but I put about 30%, and that's all I'll do for the most of the song. That's what that sounds like. Then I had Sausage Fattener. I don't know what it does. I'll be super honest. I don't know what this plugin does, but I do know it sounds good to me at least. So I put about 7 to 8%. Literally, I wait until the smile becomes a little bit bigger. You see what I mean? That, and then Valhalla Room for some reverb. You can literally use any reverb plugin for this. Again, I don't like Ableton stock reverb, so I use Valhalla. But I essentially just maximize everything and make the mix super quiet and get rid of any pre-delay. So I think it has a cool effect to it. It's like, look at that here. This makes the reverb tail sound kind of clean. That's our chords. So where the power really comes from in a chord stack, in my opinion, is the mid bass, right? So we have 3 mid bass layers. I'm going to quickly turn off all the effects and see what they sound like. This really brings the power, if you ask me. So we have what's called grunge bass. I think it's another preset, or I might have made this a long time ago. Yeah, I definitely did not make this. Again, you can copy all the settings. There's an LFO on the filter. Big. Just copy everything there. It's a really complicated looking sound, but it's really, like, I love the way it's like works. This one's also a preset. I believe I haven't made any of these mid basses. Yeah. You can take a look at that. Let's see if I have any LFOs. I do. They're here, yeah. They have on the distortion as well as the cutoff for filter. And I believe I use a preset for the last one. Again, it's not super helpful, but just being open here. Oh, I think I might have made this. Yeah, I made this one. So just gotta use this with the sub, the square sub, and then hyper, distortion, and compressor with the multi-band. It's like an OTT style. There's that, and then together. Nice, it's a lot of low end there. We haven't added a sub bass yet, so let's go ahead and do that. Not that. Let's mix it so we have room for sub bass. So minus 100, we cut that out. Camel Crusher is a free plugin. It really just makes the whole thing sound beefier. I'd recommend tuning your own settings with this, if you can. And then lastly, Sausage Fattener again, same thing, about 70%. So that sounds really like huge. And then together with the chords. See, it's a pretty good sound right there alone, but kind of boring. So that's where the leads and all that comes in. Alright, this is where your chord stack really becomes humane, if you ask me, because now it's all synths, right? This is where you can get a lot more fun out of it with and making it your own with some atmosphere. So you couldn't tell, a lot of these are from the same atmosphere pack. I'd recommend downloading some sort of atmosphere pack. It's from the Feathers, what's it called? Feathers Inspiration Bin Volume 1. But there's a lot of atmosphere packs you can get. Like I use Styx effects here too. So let's go through them real quick. And a lot of them are ARPs as well. So we have this one. It just adds a little bit of like tonal ambience to the whole thing. By the way, the mixing is identical to my chords. Like I don't change anything. Like super similar. So you have that. You have this one. You know, something a bit more distorted, just adds a bit more movement. Basically, we're adding movement here and adding some elements that aren't just pure synths. That way, it feels a bit more human. If there's gaps in all of them where the fills are, but some of them, like this one right here, I kept the gaps open because I like the way the atmosphere sounded in the fills. So I kept it. This is a regular sort of vocal atmosphere. Like it is like side chaining a little bit, LFOing, but it's kind of hard to hear if you ask me. It's a typical like atmosphere layer. So we're just adding some stuff here. I think this is an ARP. For this one, I added it only once in the second like chord stack because I thought it would add some like movement and some variety to it. If we started this in the very beginning, then it feels like the whole thing kind of just moves as is. But this adds some like tension later on. And this is one more regular one. It's a nice simple. What I did for this song, which I typically don't do, is I added like orchestral instruments. So it's a BBC Symphony Orchestra. It's a free plugin, super good. I believe this is brass horns. So So it sounds pretty good on its own. A little bit fake, just like, you know, you have to like mess around with the dynamics and all that usually. But I kept it as is because it's gonna be a backing element. So I thought it worked fine. It's pretty quiet as you can hear. So, but then I also had violins, I believe. Oh, cello, sorry. So yeah, same thing. Like, just adds quite a bit, and if we combine them all together. So you can imagine that with the chord stack just adds so much, and that's the main thing. So now we can go ahead and actually show you the main project. All right, so now we're in the main project. I'm not aware of any filters, and I believe I have some sidechain here. Okay, I turned it off already. So we have our chords. Oh, let me make a group out of this. We have our chords and we have our atmosphere. So our chords by themselves, and then our atmosphere, as I mentioned before. Now this is some like chopping up and all that just to make it a bit cleaner, but the main thing is still here. So if we put them together, you can see how much more that adds to the whole ambience. So you can go ahead and ungroup that. And now in terms of the whole chord stack, first of all, we also added a sub bass. Let me go through this. It just literally follows the same bass notes. I shouldn't have to tell you guys, like, you know, how to make a sub bass. It's a sub bass. So we have these, right? We have this. But now I feel like it's missing some like energy behind it. We have some moving elements like the ARP in the back, but they're kind of hidden. I feel like we need some more something that screams it, which you might have heard right there. I kind of forgot to mute it. It's this. Some white noise. It's literally a white noise plus crowd effects. I did make this in like 2021, so I don't have the project file anymore, but it's literally like, it's a white noise layer and a crowd screaming. It's nothing complicated. You can just hear it. And that just adds quite a bit. So here's a stack without it. And, yeah, you can see the difference right away. Now, this is important. You can't overdo it because then the high end becomes extremely harsh. So this is like minus 13 decibels compared to the rest, which is like 0 and -4, roughly. So there's that. But you can still hear. It's a pretty nice chord stack, but it's missing a lot. So let's turn on the sub maybe. Maybe that'll help. The subs are pretty strong. We gave it a low boost and all that. Okay, that's good, but it still feels like there's a lot of, you know, like passion. I feel like this is a good foundation for a chord stack, but from here, it's really about what you can do to make it your own. So the way I do that is typically with leads. Well, all it takes is about 3 more layers. 2 leads and a vocal. Now, clearly on the mixing on this one, you might notice this is the exact same thing. It's literally just cutting the low end, adding some OTT compression, sauce fattener, and some reverb. There is this utility that's just for some variety elements, but that's not really important. What's important is the sounds themselves. Let's go over to the first layer, which is, once again, our AU5 Super Saw Killer that you saw on the chord stack, because this works as a really good lead. So you can see right there, that like has like a lot of grit to it. So if I play the chord stack right now, versus with the actual layer, is... You can just hear the difference immediately when it's in a higher octave. However, if I just played it the same note as the top lead, it would be really boring, right? So what I did was I took a bit of a small melody here. So what happens is... And then from there, I can keep going with the simple patterns because I just added something a bit more creative here. It's not boring anymore. So that's the thing I'd recommend. Just keep your leads a bit more fresh. Don't always make it follow the top notes. Now, you might imagine, that feels very high-end focus. This needs something a bit more lower, right? So now we have this lead right here. This is in Massive, which I don't have the preset for this, and it's like a very common preset. It's basically, if you guys ever heard Rush Over Me by Seven Lions, it is the exact same lead they use in that song as well. It's a really common lead in a lot of Midas songs. I unfortunately don't like I can't, like I don't know how to show it because I don't know how massive works. I only use it for this lead because it's such a nice sound. It sounds like this. So it's just following the exact same sound as the first lead, but it's adding a lot more like not lower end, but like it's an octave lower, so it's hitting different frequencies. So playing together. It just complements to this so perfectly. Like they're even the exact same volume, -13, but it just worked perfectly. And then the whole song sounds like this. So there you go. That is a really amazing chord step, which is a little bit more variety. The final touch, I'd say, is some sort of vocal chop or some sort of other more naturally sounding layer. I either use pianos or vocal chops. So in this case, I use a vocal chop. So in the original vocal, here's what I got. Never knew my heart to show you. So just random elements is. I know you in a moment. So I just use this part. Never knew my heart to show you. And then same thing in second part. I just chopped up random parts of the song, no fancy like fruity slice X and all that. Just taking random parts of the song I liked and just putting them together. Like never knew my heart to show you. I feel like that's a nice flow to it, you know, has like a nice melody to it, and it kind of matches. Well, I actually made, based on this melody, made this. Like, it works perfectly there. So, yeah, how do I process this? Because it sounds a lot different. So, first thing I did was I added a pitch error. So, basically, pitch it up 1 octave, right? So, I use Little Ultra Boy for this, but I don't recommend that. Honestly, I just don't know any other good way to pitch things up. I think if you use FL Studio, that's a really good pitcher built into there. It just like shifts it up by a whole octave without making it sound like it has a lot of formants to it. So yeah, it's just pitching it up 1 octave. That's all I did. Then I use a Fab Filter Saturn. What I did is this is the default setting, right? I put on Broken Tube and I cranked it up until I started hearing some distortion. So you might be asking why we're doing this. It's because some distortion actually, in my eyes at least, again, I'm not a professional mixing engineer or anything, I just feel like it makes it stand out way more in the drops without sacrificing. So on this own, it sounds kind of weird, but in the context of the song, it works a lot better. That's literally it. There's a reverb here as well. That's for like an effect later on. Like that's not important for the song, right? So now if I play the whole thing in one go. It's that simple. There's a lot of layers and all, but most of the layers are the chords and basses and then atmospheres, and then after that you only need 1 or 2 leads, a sub bass, and then like things to make you unique, and then white noise. And even then, white noise is not recommended for everyone. I use it a lot, but a lot of people say my songs have too much high end because of the white noise, so it's really preference there. You might be listening to this and think, no, that sounds pretty weak. Again, this is very quiet, peaking at most minus 4.5 dB. And the reason for that is because the way I master using Ableton Live Lite, I have to export it all to a final project, so I like having a lot of headroom to make it louder. This is how the drop would sound like fully mastered. What do you think? Already much louder, right? Like that's way stronger than what I just showed you, but again, like that's in the mastering phase. The actual like mixing and all that, it's super simple. It's not something to complicate. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. But yeah, that's my tutorial. Hope you guys enjoyed that and learned quite a bit. Just let me know if you have anything else. See you guys.